Hello everybody, it's Stephen here for the Idiot Quilter, and I'm doing another update about my Janome machine, just when I thought it was safe to go back into the water. Now, if you saw my last two videos about the Janome machine, you will know that I have had some serious problems with the embroidery section of it. Just shutting that door over here out of the way. There you go. So, in that first video, I explained the whole problem. So if you haven't seen that, just go to that. It's the Janome 15,001, and you'll hear all about my woes with that. The second one I did after I had taken it in. I met with the technician, and I thought the whole problem was solved. And I was happy. Well, guess what? The problem is not solved. The problem is back to square one again. It's doing the same thing. To make a long story short, because if you're interested, you can check those other two videos out. It's pulling up my bobbins. These are my bobbins, okay? These are called yellow dot bobbins because they have a yellow dot on them. And these are high tension bobbins that you put into the machine when you're going to do embroidery. And I've had endless problems with it. The machine, for some reason, as it's threading and it's working along, suddenly it yanks this up, which takes a lot of force. The bobbin sits right in here, in the center. The thread gets all tangled up. The thread breaks at times, the least of my worries, or the needle comes down, jams into this, breaks the needle, and scars this. Now, it won't come up on the camera very well. But if you look here, get this in the right spot. See the little gouge marks that are in here right below this lip? Well, that's filed. I have filed that down because those come up and they're very rough. And the thread somehow gets caught on those, and that pulls the whole thing out of the casing and causes you all the grief. I did one small project when I got the machine back after it had been repaired. And it was kind of hit and miss when I worked on that. And I thought, oh, what's going on? So then I decided to do a very simple project. It was actually making some face masks for my sister. She asked for those, and I have a pattern for doing them in the hoop. And I've made quite a few of them in that method before I had all these problems, and it all worked very easily. So then I started working on these ones, and no. The machine was yanking up the bobbin. It was causing all kinds of grief. I wanted to pick the whole machine up again, and this time run it over with a Mack truck. I think throwing out the window is just not final enough. So I decided to try the pattern on Walter's embroidery machine. And now he has a 550E, which is a dedicated embroidery machine. And what I mean by that is it only embroiders. It does not sew. And he's had it now for a few months, and he's used it. He's not a power user, but he has used it for some very complicated patterns and things, and hasn't had a moment's worry with it. It works fine. And ironically speaking, when I talk about that machine, it does not take a high tension yellow dot bobbin. It takes a red dot bobbin. The red dot bobbin is the standard bobbin I use when my machine, the 15,000, when I'm using it just for straight sewing. So anyways, we set it all up and away it went, not a problem. Did the mask, no problem. So what am I going to do, is what I'm thinking. I've had it with this machine. I've taken it in many, many times. We have done many, many things to it. I have replaced these bobbins so many times that this is costing me well over $400 in bobbins alone. Yes, these are $45 Canadian a piece. And once they get scarred, if a needle hits it, even though you might have a little luck filing down the rough parts that have been scarred, it still doesn't work the way it should. Okay? I mean, so basically do the math. If I've had over $400, I've had a minimum of 10 of these in a period of less than a year. So I'm very frustrated. And at this point, I'm thinking, what can be done? So I sent an email off to to Shirley at Ultimate Sewing, and you know I love Shirley, and Shirley has been wonderful. So again, let me reinforce the fact that disappointment, anger, and frustration are not because of her or Roy, the technician. Not at all. Exact opposite. They can't be, they've done everything they possibly can do and even more. So no, my frustration and anger is not directed at them whatsoever. Okay. I don't know what it is, but anyways, maybe I just have bad luck with machines. So anyways, I sent her an email and I said, okay, I've got a couple of proposals. Plan A. I bring the machine in, I sit down, I set it up as and embroider something as if I was at home. Same situation, all my equipment. She goes off and does what she needs to do in her store. Now, this coming week, we are still in isolation and that, but things are opening up slowly, but very slowly and very cautiously here in Canada. And she is planning to open her store to appointments only next week. So she's trying to get the store ready for that because there's things she has to put into place before she can do that. So she's very busy right now, and I really feel bad about bothering her about this. You know, just another problem she needs on her plate at this moment in time. But where do I go? So anyways, I wrote her this mail and said, I can come in, we can set up a time, we'll practice social distancing the whole bit, I'll start to embroider, you go off, do what you need to do, and at the moment when the machine does what it's going to do, which probably won't take it very long to do that, I'll call you over and you can see it in action, sort of thing, live and real. And maybe we can figure it out from that. But then I said, you know, at this point, I'm very frustrated. I'm sick of this. We've tried so many different things, and the result is that it works for a little bit of time. And when I say a little bit of time, I'm not talking days or weeks. I'm talking, a few minutes. And then we're back to square one. So plan B is, okay, this was an expensive machine. I paid $7,500 for this machine. It actually retails for $14,000. You've heard me say that before, but I got a really good price from Shirley for $7,500, okay? That included the tax. That's damn good. I'll cut my losses and do a couple of different things. One, I want to be able to embroider. So I will put out the $3,000 that it costs for the 550E. That's the same machine as Walter's got. I already have a Skyline S7 that I purchased a few weeks ago from Shirley. I have not yet paid her for it because she still needs to send me the invoice and everything like that. And yeah, well, we're going to get that sorted out. But that's a couple of thousand for that machine. So right there, I'm at about $5,000. Okay. Plus, I have on order Artistic Digitizer, and it's about $1,000. So we're talking $6,000 here for all of that. I will use the $15,000 as a sewing machine, period. Screw the fact that it can embroider. I'll have the 550E. Can I afford all of this right now? Well, not really. I'm not made of money. And, you know, this stuff is adding up. Like, majorly adding up. Okay? But this whole problem with this machine is affecting my mental health. And I put that in the email to her. And I don't want to sound like a drama queen here. But when I sit down at that machine to start embroidering, I tense up, I break out in a cold sweat. I'm watching it like a hawk. I'm listening to it like a hawk because I know the sounds that machine makes. And as soon as I hear the one of the evil sounds that it makes, I shut it off and try to fix the problem. It's giving me tension. This is a hobby. I'm supposed to be enjoying this. So why is this giving me tension? It's driving me mental over it all. I'm afraid to use the machine. Can you believe that? Now, I don't know. Maybe you think I'm off the deep end here and I'm exaggerating things, but this is how it's making me feel. And I know how it sounds, but it's the truth. So, another alternative is I just scrap this bloody machine, period. I take back the Skyline S7 and I buy a 9450 and a 550E. Now, it's still going to cost me money. But why a 9450 Janome? Well, the 9450 is very similar to the 15,000, except it doesn't embroider, and it has a wide throat, which is what the 15,000 has. And when I quilt a quilt, you want to have a wide throat, okay, for this kind of thing. So I don't know. And I'm just so bloody frustrated. So I sent the email off. And she sent me a text message saying, don't throw in the towel. We're going to look at it. She says, I will get back to you. We'll set up a time this week in the store. I'll check with Roy, the technician, and what his schedule's like, and we'll get to the bottom of this. Okay. Do I have faith in this? I do. I have faith in Shirley. I have faith in Roy. Do I have faith in the machine and whether or not we can fix it? I don't. However, having said that, last night, Walter was down here in my sewing room. He was cutting a pattern. He's about to take an online class in shirt making again. And he told me that he went over to my machine and he kind of looked at the bobbin. Now, Walter's very mechanically inclined too, and he often can spot things in this nature that I don't. So he went to take the bobbin out, the actual bobbin, not the bobbin case that the bobbin sits in, not this thing, but the actual bobbin. And when he pulled up the bobbin, the case came out with it as well. It's not supposed to do that. It's seated in there, so that won't do that. But I said, yeah, I know. This happens to me all the time. And he said, well, that shouldn't come out that easy. And he's looking at the casing. Now, his theory is, and he's done a little research on this, is that the housing that contains all of this mechanism, it drops into another steel mechanism, the hook and everything for it. He thinks somewhere along that piece there's a problem where it's not holding this bobbin down. Ironically, it is holding down the red dot bobbin though, so I don't get that. I'm not having that problem with the red dot bobbin. Now, some of you might say, well, why don't you try using the red dot bobbin for embroidery? I did. And the same thing happened as with the yellow dot bobbin. So I don't know what the problem is. I don't know. But anyways, I'll tell Shirley about that when I get the machine into her. Bottom line of all of this is, I don't know what the bottom line is. I just want a machine that works, that is reliable, where I'm not having heart palpitations every time I thread it with embroidery thread thinking that it's going to bust. I've had lots of you have made suggestions on the other two videos as to what I could do and try, and I have tried some of those things, and I thank you for that advice. Janome themselves, this is the most frustrating part about all this. Janome will not answer any questions if you contact them directly. They won't deal with you. They won't even acknowledge you. They don't care about you. So you have to have a good dealer. And I do have a very good dealer. So stay tuned for other updates on what's going on with my Janome machine and my mental health. So let's turn our attention away from the Janome right now and talk about more pleasant things. Let's talk about the project I'm working on now. Have some coffee. I bought this pattern about going on to almost a year ago, and I love the Northcott Solstice line of fabrics. It's all part of their Stonehenge collection, and I just love that collection. It's very, very nice. And I saw this pattern in a quilt store somewhere. I think it might have been in Belleville, which probably means nothing to the vast majority of you that don't come from this area. But, and I thought, well, I really like it. Now, anything that's got a star on it, I'm absolutely attracted to. And of course, I love this fabric line. So I bought the pattern, and then I had a hunt for the fabric. Now, at the time, the Solstice fabric was very popular because Northcott was having a little bit of a competition to honor their 10th anniversary of bringing out the Northcott Stonehenge collection. And people were to design something using the certain fabrics and whatnot. Well, everybody was buying up all of that. So my local quilt store, Ultimate Sewing, they had some of it. And on the back, I decided to make the throw so I know how much fabric I need, but I need it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 different fabrics in various sizes, not counting the backing fabric and the binding. So I went on the hunt. Now, at that time, and it would be a year ago this coming July, my birthday's in July. And the last couple of years, we've made arrangements. We spend the weekend in an area west of Toronto that is a great area to go to, the Waterloo, Kitchener, Guelph, Elmira area. It's basically Mennonite country to a certain degree, but there's a whole pile in that loop of quilt stores. And what we do is we spend a couple of days going from quilt store to quilt store, and I buy a crap load of fabric and other things at those. It's my birthday present to me. That's the way I justify it. Like I need to justify buying fabric. I don't, but that's what I do. So I was on the hunt for all these fabrics. I went to a lot of different quilt stores. I finally got enough of the fabric to make this quilt. When I got it home after that weekend, I labeled it all, but I hadn't cut it yet. And there it sat. And it's been sitting in a plastic project box for almost a year because I got waylaid by other projects. So the other day I pulled it off the shelf and said, okay, I'm going to do this. And I've started cutting it. Now I have it all cut and I'm in the process of starting to sew it. So one of the first things they want you to do was to make these medallion pieces. There are 8 of these. You had to fussy cut the center part out of the fabric, and then you had to put these borders on, and you had to almost fussy cut those as well. Well, you had to cut them so that it looked like this, and then you're doing mitered corners on it. I've done mitered corners before, and their instructions in this pattern were very good. It was pretty easy to do. It's not a long process because you want to be fairly precise when you do the sewing on it, but it worked out beautifully. Here's what the back of them look like, by the way. I'm very impressed with my backing too, the way my pressing and that. Been very careful with this. And also because you're cutting these strips on the bias as well, they'll stretch. So you have to be careful when you press and sew them together and all that. You don't want to stretch them out of shape. Then you had to put together strip sets of these fabrics. I've already started cutting these, but they look something like this. And then you cut them so you get pieces like this. And you have, I think, 4 strip sets. And so you have to cut 16 pieces on the 45-degree angle with this. I put this little clip up here because this is my top. I want to remember where my top is because these are going to form the star in the center. So that's as far as I have gotten right now on this project. I have my pieces cut out, and I got those medallions sewn, and now the next thing is to sew the, I'm just organizing myself here, sorry, start sewing the quilt together. So maybe later today I will get to that and carry on with the sewing. But I think it's going to be a fantastic looking quilt when I get it done. And then the question is going to be, how am I going to quilt it? And right now, I can't take it to the rental long arm place at all. And since my embroidery machine's not really working properly, I can't really do it on that. Maybe it will be working by then. I may just do walking foot quilting on this one. I don't know. Maybe some stitch in the ditch. I mean, it would lend itself very easily to stitch in the ditch, I think, and maybe just do some straight line or wavy line walking foot quilting with it. I don't know. But we haven't got it done yet, so that's not a thing that I have to worry about right now. Another project that I was hoping to start on, I purchased this. It was pricey. I've seen online other people have done this. It's for Christmas. It's a Christmas wall hanging. There's one panel of it. But it's all done in tiles, and I think there's about 18 tiles, and then you sew them together. It's very, very elaborate. It comes from OESD, Embroidery Online, and I bought it. I looked at it about a month ago, as I was really interested in it. But it was like $50 for the pattern, $50 US. And our dollar in Canada sucks next to the US dollar. So it cost me around $75, $80 for it at the time. Well, this is when at the moment that I'm filming this, this is Memorial Day in the United States. So it's a long weekend for them. And this company is having a big sale, 40% off any of the collections. They consider this a collection. So I thought I'd take advantage of that. And so instead of it being $49.99 US, it came out to like $29.99 US. I got about $20 off with this 40%. Now, it still came to $42 Canadian by the time I was done, but I have it. Of course, now I don't have a machine that I can do it on. And this is going to take some time to do as well. There's a lot of stitches in each one of these panels. But I think the end result will be very nice. Now, I do have a picture of the end result back here, but unfortunately my printer, when I was printing this out, well, first of all, I forgot I had pink paper in the printer. That was smart. And didn't want to waste anything, so I didn't bother to reprint it. And the picture of the whole panel when it's done is called Starry Night Santa. Number 80194, if you're interested. Embroidery Online is where I got it. It looks like this down here. Don't mind, it won't have those lines in it. That was because my ink was running out on one of my cartridges, and you know how it makes those stupid lines. But the end result, I think, will be very, very nice. And I have seen it. People have posted pictures of it on Facebook and things, and it's gorgeous. It's really gorgeous. So if I ever get a machine that works, I'm really looking forward to doing this project. Okay, so what else do I want to talk about on this? Fabric. Let's look at fabric, shall we? Okay, you know that I've been buying fabric online lately. And I found a place out in BC, British Columbia, Canada, called Woven Modern Fabrics. Family-owned business. They have a few things that are a little bit different than the usual. Now, their prices were very good. Shipping, I think, was free if you ordered over $150 worth, I think. It's either 100 or 150. I think it was 150. But they ship it by Canada Post, or as we like to call it, Canada Park and Storage, because of the speed of them. Although, I have to say, lately Canada Post has been really good. Much better. In fact, it's been better than some of the courier systems, like Quilter right now. I digress, but Quilter has something coming from Montville in Quebec. And I've talked about Montville on here before. And usually, if you buy over $100, it's free shipping, and they ship it by Canada Post. If it's under $100, you pay about $16 for shipping, but they ship it by Perlator, and so you usually get it within a couple of days. Well, he put in an order. It was over $100, but this time they decided, so he got free shipping, but they decided to ship it not by Canada Post, but by Perlator. And right now it's held up in Montreal. And the excuse they're using is because of the COVID business. Well, we've been through the COVID business for quite a while now. This isn't news. And we've ordered other things that were delivered by Perlator from Montville. And this was never a problem. So suddenly, what's the problem here? So I said to him, write a note to Montville and tell them, look, thanks so much for sending it a faster way, even though, I got the free shipping, but, normally you would send it by Canada Post. But guess what? Here's the problem. So, I think it was a question that Montville was trying to do something nice for the customer, and Perlator's letting them down. But that's the couriers. And this is the excuse all of them are using now, too. And whether or not it's really legit, not really sure. I think it's just a convenient excuse for places like Perlator and UPS and a whole bit to blame their service on the COVID crisis. Scapegoat. But anyways, mine did come through Canada Post, and they did put up a warning saying that it would probably take, this is the company Woven, that it may take anywhere between 5 to 13 days for you to receive your order. So I was all prepared for that. I wasn't in a terrible rush or anything for it, because I have no idea what I'm going to do with these fabrics yet. And that's often the case. I see fabric, it's pretty, I want it, I buy it, and it goes in my stash. So here's what I bought. I have it all here in this little basket, so I'm going to show it to you. Now, I picked things that are stuff that really is a little bit, not something I would normally pick out, but I thought, here's an opportunity to, find something that's a little unusual. So I got this. This one is called, I think, Flames. I'm not sure who it's by. It's called Dragons. And it's by Lewis and Irene. Thread It With Love. Okay. Not sure what the company is that actually manufactures it, but anyways, it's a little different. I called it Flames. I don't do a lot of things in oranges, but I thought this might be fun, especially if you remember, and I showed you my cock block quilt, one with the rooster on it. It has sort of these colors in it too, and I'm thinking if I do another one like that or something similar, then this might be good to have. So I've got that. I love blues and all kinds of blues, and this is a little bit more of a blue, dark blue, navy with lighter blue and a little teal it looks like in it. So again, that grabbed my attention, and that's by something called Art Gallery Fabrics. I don't know if I've ever had any fabric from that company before. Now, this one appealed to me because, in my other life, I do mixed media and art journaling, and this reminds me of what you might do in an art journal page as well, the layered look on top of script, that kind of thing. So I got a meter of that. All of these, I think, are meters. Yeah, I just buy meters, usually, unless it's for a very specific project where I need more. Another one I thought make a good background. It's got a very small pattern, and it's in blue. And the equivalent, same one except in white. I do use a fair amount of white as backgrounds with small prints on it, so that will not come to a waste. And then I got some Tula Pink. I am not a big fan of Tula Pink. Her colors are bold, her patterns are very bold. I know a lot of people really like it. Her designs somewhat remind me of K Facet, which I do like, so kind of ironic that I like K Facet, but I'm not a big fan of Tula Pink. I don't hate Tula Pink, I just haven't seen a lot of it at my quilt store, and, well, I thought I'd take a chance. So I got 3 meters, 1 meter each, of some of Tula Pinks. Now, I do like purples, but I shy away from greens, or green shades. In most things. And here's another one, blue again. And then this. Okay, I saw it and I thought, well, it kind of goes with the other 2 that I bought as well, but I'm not a fan of pink, really. But, when you cut these into smaller pieces and you use it as part of a block, it could be very dramatic. Then, of course, I love batiks, so I had to have some batiks. And I'm also a fan of K Facet. K Facet was the first fabric line that I ever got into. In my very first serious quilt that I made, it was a kit, and the fabrics in the kit were all K Facet, and I had no idea who K Facet was at the time. And I fell in love with the colors and the fabrics. So, and I have quite a few of them, and here's some more for my set. Now, it's a pretty large print on it, but again, because of the colors and the way the prints are designed, when you cut it up into smaller pieces into a block, it really works well. Then, this is a William Morris design by Free Spirit. I like Free Spirit fabrics. This is something, though, that I don't usually buy. This kind of very busy print, again, I kind of like the color in it, but William Morris is famous for wallpaper designs. Okay, I mean, he's from the 1800s or late 1800s or something like that as a designer, so this is in his style. I often associate this with, okay, don't get upset, old lady fabrics, But this one I thought would make an interesting background on some things. I don't know, there's something about it that caught my interest, so I got some. Yeah, that's how I scientifically pick out my fabric. If something inside of me goes, ooh, then I buy it. It has to have that ooh factor. And this has an ooh factor too. The black and white. I think black and white and gray in a quilt can be very dramatic. I have one quilt that I made, the Dynamic Duo, that I probably showed sometime in the past, that I believe I called it my quilt from hell because there was like 420 half square triangles in it, and then I had mitered borders to put on it and all that kind of stuff. And I had never done mitered borders at that point, but I learned a lot from that quilt, and it's in black and whites and grays, and it's very dramatic. And so I'm thinking, if I ever want to make another quilt that's sort of in the black and white field, this might be my inspiration for that. And I do use fabric as inspiration for patterns. Okay, it jumps out at me. It says, I need a pattern for this because I really like it. So anyways, that is my fabric stash that I just picked up from Woven Modern Fabrics. And you just do a search in Google and you'll find them, no problem. And as I said, I was very pleased with their service. They had everything. They sent me a shipping notice the day after I put the order in. So they were quick. The only slow part is it went by Canada Post. Okay, but as I said, I got it in about a week. So that's not too bad at all. Okay, so that's all I wanted to do in this episode of The Idiot Quilter. Stay tuned. I'm hoping the next time that I speak to you, I'll be glowing about my sewing machine. All problems will have disappeared and I'll be able to make nice things again with it. That's my hope. What the reality will be, I have no idea. So stay tuned for all of that. Hope you have a nice day. Keep quilting. Great time to do it. We're all stuck indoors, so quilt away. And we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.